Great. So again, for those of you who just came on, you had a couple technical difficulties. So that's why we always try to find some alternate options here. Thank you, Amy, for getting that up. This is the District 3 Creative Crosswalks information session. So we've done some quick introductions. It was just basically Amy and I who introduced ourselves. I want to give you a little bit of background, but show you the agenda here. I'll start with the background of the Creative Crosswalks project, then we'll open it up for questions. At that time, Amy, actually, if you would then take down the screen share and so we can see everybody. And then we'll open it back up. We'll do an overview of the RFQ. And to do that, I'm actually going to go to Submittable. So Amy will click on a link and we'll go to Submittable. We'll just show you the RFQ. You've probably already seen it, but we'll walk you through it. Then we'll open it up for questions. Then we'll go through the scoring rubric. We'll bring that up. And by the way, if you did try to download everything in the information packet, and I recommend that you do, the rubric I realized was not up there. So it is now. So if you've tried to do that and you're kind of looking for the scoring rubric, it was not your error. We did locate it and it is up there now. So you can do that from the RFQ. Then we'll walk through the actual submittable application. I'll literally pull it up. We'll pull it up online and we'll go through section by section, and then we'll open that up for questions, and then we'll kind of wrap up. Like I said, if there's any other things that need to be talked about, or you just have questions you want to have afterwards, I'll stay on for a little bit after 6:30. It won't be recorded, but I'm happy to answer some questions then as well. But it is best if you ask those questions in the moment. It'll help everybody else out. Terrific. And lastly, I'll just say these are fairly informal. We just found that having these kinds of sessions is a good opportunity to give people a chance to just ask some simple questions about the process. Of course, I can't comment on your specific application or give you any particular guidance in how you should apply, but I think the general guidance is sometimes helpful for folks. So one thing I want to share with you is that what you're looking at here is a map of Northgate Boulevard. This project was really kind of quite interesting. It came about, the Council District Office 3 received some funding from the state. And then we were able to add to that funding through some city funding to allow us to add on a second school. So the first school was Garden Valley Elementary, and now the second school will be Smythe Academy. And you can see both of those indicated by little red stars, hopefully on your screen there. And this area, this corridor along Northgate Boulevard that we're really interested in. There's just, some of the documents in the information packet share with you some of the traffic safety.
You're parking the bike lane, not you.
Right. If you could just mute yourself, that would be awesome. So, there's some traffic safety issues that have come up, and unfortunately, deaths regularly come up. And so we don't see this as some kind of panacea that's going to fix everything. And I also don't think that art always needs to have a utilitarian purpose. But in this instance, we're going to try to do these crosswalk projects and just try to talk a little bit about pedestrian safety in this area, but really in the city in its entirety. So that's a little bit what this is about. That's what prompted this. And we also are working directly with our Public Works Department that has a very specific policy on how creative crosswalks can be done. And we really haven't had any crosswalks happen after that policy was instituted. So we thought this is a good opportunity for the city to work with interdepartmentally and really try to do 2 of these projects. So we're excited that you're here. And the last thing I want to say is that the crosswalks themselves we're really excited about, and the money that you would receive is just for your artist fee. We have all the other money set aside to actually paint the crosswalks and do all that's going to be all done by contractors. And we also have money set aside for your materials and things. But what's really important is working with the students. So this is an opportunity for those artists that have worked with students or worked with community members before, and it's a good kind of collaborative project. I wouldn't say it's a huge project in the whole scheme of the public art projects we do, but I think it's a really great opportunity for 4 artists, 2 design artists and 2 teaching artists. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, if we could stop sharing the screen for a second, Amy, I just want to give folks any questions that you have just in what I've just discussed, the kind of the overall purpose and the overall project that this RFQ is presenting for you. And if not, that's totally fine too. We have a lot of other stuff to discuss. Great. So Amy, why don't you go ahead and share again, and then we'll go to the next page. And actually, the next page is another image talking about the background, so my mistake. But you can actually see a couple things here that I'll point out. So here's Garden Valley Elementary. This is one of the crosswalks that's possible on Larchwood Drive. There are very specific guidelines as to which crosswalks will be eligible for the city. And we did not want to be too prescriptive in many ways. We want the artists to be at the table. That is really paramount in all projects we do. But particularly for this one, we want the artists to be there and with the teachers in the school and community members that are involved to really, we'll determine exactly the best location. And we also need to work with our public works department and make sure that they feel that that's acceptable. They've identified all these as acceptable locations, and that'll be one crosswalk in front of Garden Valley. Then the other crosswalk, there's a couple different options, but one we're really quite interested in is a crosswalk that might link us to the new Taco Plaza. And you can see that just below Smythe Academy. So that's really exciting. It's an area in the community that has formed really from community interaction. And also, interestingly enough, a mural that we did as part of our Community Murals Sacramento program. So we're really excited to add to that and had the great fortune to even talk today with Vice Mayor Talamontes, and just to see her excitement about wanting to bring art and culture and opportunities along this Northgate Boulevard. So thrilled to be able to do that with her. I know she has a series of box wraps and other things that she has planned also for the corridor. So again, a little bit more background there, but let's go to the next slide. Great. So Amy, do me a favor. Can you try to click on that submittable? And it should take you to a website. Perfect. And just scroll down slowly. Hold on, I want to show you all. There's a number of things here. If you're not familiar with this, you probably are. That's probably how you got here. But just in case, there's a number of things here. Keep this on your bookmarks and check every once in a while. If you miss a newsletter update or something, you might see if there's something here you want to apply for. But go all the way down. And Amy, why don't you go ahead and click on the guidelines for District 3 Creative Crosswalks. Again, you all have probably seen this, but just stop right there. Yeah. And so this call to artists, this gives you a little bit of background of the project, how the project came about, a little bit of what I had already discussed. The art budget, and I want to reiterate this. This is $6,000 for each artist. There'll be 4 artists, 2 design artists and 2 teaching artists. This is just your fee. This is basically for your time to, if you're the design artist, to make sure there's a design that fits the crosswalk and is responsive to your experience there. And if you're the teaching artist, to make sure that you come up with some lesson plans and some ideas to go in and work with a 4th grade class in each school. And we've done all the legwork. We've done all the figuring that out with the schools. We've worked out that if we were paying you about $50 an hour, it would be, what did we determine, Amy? It's about 60 hours of kind of interaction time. That's about $3,000. So that's how, just so you understand how this worked out. And what that would mean is time that you spend in the classroom, time that you're meeting with teachers, time that you might do a community meeting or a workshop. That's a kind of gauge of what you would want to do and interact. The other half of that is really just your fee. And we expect that you'll do whatever you need to do to kind of get the project done. So that's how the fee worked out. Again, I realize for some commissions, it's a smaller fee or a smaller amount of money, but I do want to be clear, this is just what you take home. You don't pay for any materials or any of that type of stuff. That's really important, and that's an important function of how the project was designed. It is a hope that it's collaborative in nature, but collaborative doesn't mean that somebody's going to be telling you what to do. It means that you all work together and you develop that project. So if you like that idea, this might really be the kind of project for you. Why don't you go down a little bit, Amy? There's a little bit more about the background, a little bit really interesting information, some really sad information, but some really interesting information about the schools and the area, and also pedestrian safety. Go down a little bit further. Requirements for selecting artists. This gives you the requirements. So this tells you what the design artist is going to do. And basically your requirement is to come up with a final design and then to assist the teaching artist. So if the teaching artist is going to go into the classroom for an hour one day, you're there. If you're not there every time, that's fine. But the idea is that you guys should be bouncing ideas off of one another. Ultimately, you keep going down. The required contact time, I think I discussed that. And then there'll be one exhibition at the end. And so again, part of that contact time is just your help in getting some work together for these students. And the teaching artist will really be in charge of making sure that they go through some kind of programmatic lessons. So let's go down. The teaching artist, again, his or her main concern is then the classroom lessons, like what's happening in the classroom and how in that discussion is the teaching artist then able to talk with the design artist and say, hey, what do you think what should we work on? How do we engage these students? The students should be an opportunity for you to just gain kind of creative wisdom. Ultimately, the design artist is going to need to come up with that design, but they might choose to pull things from things that kids have made. They might just look at the process and be inspired by that. We have some different themes that we might discuss with them, but it's all very open. We want the artist to be at the table. Again, there's still the required contact time and then a community paint day and the meetings that you guys will both work together and we'll support you on. So that'll be one community event. It's about a 2.5 hour to 3 hour event. Probably it'll be at Taco Plaza. So if you like this kind of thing, if this sounds interesting to work with community, work with kids, collaborate with another artist, then this might be exactly the type of project that you would appreciate. Great. Eligibility, all professional artists are eligible, and you need to be 18 years or older. You have to be a legal adult to apply for this, and ultimately there are no additional funds for travel or any of that. So we probably think that artists need to be in the area in order to complete this project. Could you hold one quick second?
Does anybody have any questions while Donald's away? Oh, there he's back.
No, that's okay. No, that's great. I'm almost there. Sorry about that. Just one of the lovely things about working from home sometimes. So how to apply? You apply on the submittable website, which we're on right now. We're going to go through that later. Go down to the project guidelines. You'll see on the application all the different parts of the application. Go down. We'll have a panel. The panel is made up of different professionals, some folks from the area, but also some folks from outside the area that will review all the applicants. And they will review and score your work based on a rubric. And that rubric is available on in the information pack. And I do encourage you to take a look at it. And then they score you individually, but then they come together as a panel and they talk about your application. So, and you're able to request that scoring after the fact. We'll give you more information on that via email, and all the emails will come out through Submittable. So do make sure whatever email you use to sign up for Submittable, that you do monitor that email. Sometimes people use a kind of throwaway email because it's something they're signing up for. Make sure you monitor this, because that's where the initial emails, until you get the commission, that's where all the initial emails will come out. Lastly, the information packet. Again, I just recommend that you go on there, click that here button, go on there and just, you don't need to click it now, but go on there and just download everything. And this, of course, is the information session. This is the timeline. I think we're close. We're pretty close to sticking with this timeline right now. I don't see any reason why we should veer off from it too much. So the whole thing will probably take 1 year. Of course, it's not taking 1 year of your time. You're just going to be in the classroom for a schedule that we work out within maybe a month-long period. And then, of course, the design artist also is going to have to kind of figure out their schedule in terms of how they work on their design portion and finish that. So let's go ahead and close out of here real quick. Again, that's just, yeah, you can just stop the screen share. And that just gives you a little bit of background of the RFQ. I mean, you could have read the same thing, but sometimes my embellishments assist folks a little bit. So I'm happy to do that. Any questions thus far on some of that background material that I provided? Great. You know, when we did our Creative Edge program, we did our Creative Edge cultural plan back in, and it was adopted by council in 2019. Art education was at the top of the goals for Sacramento. And so what we've started to do as Office of Arts and Culture is really weave art education in all different forms through everything we do. So we try to create cultural programming, we try to create classes, we create workshops, even our engagement, we think provides art education because we often hire artists to do our engagement work and teach others to make art through the process. But this one is really like art education, just front and center. So we are really in the classroom on this, but I also think that it's nice to have an artist that is the design artist that is there to support and ultimately will come up with the design, but doesn't have all the responsibility also of the teaching component. Could be one artist doing all that, but in this case, hopefully it's nice opportunity to work with somebody and engage in that.
Donald, can I add to that, Donald? In the guidelines, there will be a classroom teacher in the classroom with you. So you're not going to, you'll have support from the home teacher. So you don't have to do worry as much about discipline and things like that as just inspiration.
Yeah, that's really important. And we've laid that groundwork and we'll continue to lay that groundwork to support you. We've also built relationships with the different principals at the school and make sure that they support this. We wouldn't undergo a project like this unless we knew that both the principal and the teacher really want you to be there. So that's a really important thing too. But yes, absolutely, teachers will be there throughout the entire process. And we may be there sometimes to support you too. Not every time, but occasionally we'll come in and maybe we'll just be an assistant for that day just to kind of experience the process with you. All right, great. So let's go to the next section, which is the scoring rubric. And it's a little bit small. Amy, if you pull that up on the screen, I'll just kind of quickly go through it. And then what I do recommend is that everybody, when you download it, just take a look at it. It looks super lengthy, but honestly, you get through it pretty quickly. Yeah, we're just seeing your Zoom screen here. So the rubric might be behind or something.
Is it on the?
You just need to pull up, you need to pull your presentation in front again. You probably have, because you clicked on the link, to your browser. So now you just need to pull up the presentation in front of the browser.
Got it.
Just move it there. Yeah.
Okay. It's in the information packet, the rubric.
Yeah, no. You need to just go back to the presentation.
Oh,
you don't want to be on.
I'm sorry,
you don't want to be on your browser. You just want to be back on the presentation.
Right, gotcha. My bad.
And honestly, I have never. We use Zoom a lot. And I have never seen it say error message, screen share not working at this time. So I don't know what that's all about, but I will definitely remedy that. So I'm glad you're here to support, Amy. Thank you very much.
All right, there we are. All right.
All right, one more page.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
Enlarge that a little bit for me.
Uh,
Yeah, just go in with that little Yeah, that's great. And then you can kind of toggle down a little bit. Okay, great. So notice there's 3 parts to this. There's the originality, the technical skill, and the public art engagement / teaching experience. Each of those areas has 20 points, the total of 60 points. Listen, it's difficult to choose artists for these projects. We regularly have over 100 artists apply, sometimes for just one commission. So we try to be as objective as possible. But we create a rubric that we're constantly slightly changing and adopting. But this is what the panel will look at in scoring your work. So it's important that you have a sense of what it is. You still got to be who you are as an artist, but at the same time, you just so you have an understanding. A couple of things I want to go through. The originality portion. This is really about like what's the work you're doing. Is there, you don't need to keep moving around, Amy. That's fine. Just leave it right there. Yeah, that's perfect. So is it, is it unique? Is it something that we haven't seen before? You might score higher. You don't have to score top score on every single section. But is your work contributing to the field? Is it something that seems like it's novel, or maybe it's just something that is really kind of powerful in terms of the originality of the work that you're producing? There's also a little section here, your relationship to the Garland Northgate neighborhood, or to asphalt art in general, to community interaction, to mobility. So that portion there, they'll score you and they'll assign some points. Again, it's subjective, so you're ultimately, scored in relationship to everyone else who applied, not to the entire world. Okay. And then there's technical skill that really gets down to like, and one thing here is like your artist statement does matter, because if you have your artist statement and then you have the work that you show and there seems to be no relationship, you're going to score lower on some of these. So you want your artist statement to be reflective of the work. Oftentimes artists already have their statements done, so hopefully this is something that's not a big deal for you. You can just plop it in there, and that's totally fine. Also, you want to be able to show that that the concepts, the ideas, are you able to portray those types of things in the work that you do? Lastly, public art and engagement teaching experience. You don't have to have public art experience, but you might want to have, some experience with collaborating with other people, or in this case, if you show that you have some teaching experience through your resume, for example. If you wanted to submit some student work and label it, student work, and you're applying for the teacher position, I think that makes perfect sense. Or if you did a collaborative project and you're applying for the design position, I think that would make perfect sense. All right. Great. So that's how you also will get a little extra points down here at the bottom. Artist resides in or has historic, personal, or cultural connection to the Sacramento Valley region, demonstrated through their application materials. And we'll go through the application real quick, but you'll see that you're just flipping to the next page. That's what's happening, Amy, each time you're going down a little too far. So that's so that will give you some extra points. But again, you don't have to do that. Yeah, you just leave it there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to score a 5 on everything, but you want to just look at it and think about it. You got to be true to yourself. Please be who you are, and the panel will see that, okay, in the work. All right, let's go. Let me see. Let's go ahead and jump out of the screen share. All right. Any questions before we take a look at the application? All right. Do we have to add the addresses I don't think I have people's addresses. I do think we ask address, but I'm fine. If you didn't have an address and you just put like name, phone number, email, that's fine. And just FYI, we're not going to actually call or get in touch with those folks unless you're about to be selected as like you're about to get the position, right? So it's just that we don't want to then have to go out to you, back to you and say, hey, can you please get your references? So we ask for it ahead of time. But if your references are getting called, it's a very good thing. And if they don't get called, that's okay too, because sometimes we might not get all of them and we might talk with a couple and then we're fine. So yeah, but good question. Yeah, if we can't have an address, sometimes the address is helpful because I'll know like where somebody is located. And so if I call somebody and they're located on the East Coast, I might not call them, at 6 o'clock at night, my time, because it will be 9 o'clock their time. All right. Any other questions? Very good question. Great. All right, and let's go on to the kind of the last part here, which is the overview of the application itself. So Amy, what I want you to do is click on that link again. That should bring up your browser. And then what you want to do is go all the way down and hit the submit button. And honestly, that always bothered me, the submit button, because it feels like I'm submitting something. It really is just allowing you. I'll stop right here. Now you see where it ends, 11:59? Folks, we just had people apply for our Birds and Benches project, and somebody did literally get it in right at 11:59. I have been that person before, okay? I mean, I was like, applying for these types of things for 20 years. We didn't do it in the same way, but, you don't need that kind of stress. Get this in earlier, okay? I just really encourage you to not wait to even the last day, let alone the last hour or the last minute. I'm not throwing any shade to that particular person. I know how it is. I've been there. But I encourage all of you to try to get your application in earlier. If by chance you applied and you're like, oh my God, I completely goofed something up. I included something I shouldn't have. Don't get, too overly worried about it. But if you really made a mistake, my email and phone, but the email is right down at the bottom. Make sure you've downloaded downloaded the information packet. You'll have my email. You can email me and we can open it back up for you to make a small change. Okay. We don't want you to go in and try to don't just throw whatever in and then ask to do your application. Okay. But if there's a small change, it's possible. I don't know that we're talking about you, but Roberta, I don't think we're talking about you, but I did have somebody at 11:59, so I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Again, it happened. I've done almost the exact same thing in grants before, so I understand. All right, so let's go through this real quick. So one thing I want to point out, actually, I'm sorry, I got on a tangent here. Notice that she clicked on submit, but she literally sees the guidelines again. I have had folks be so frustrated with submittable. Like, I keep going back to the same page. You're not. You need to scroll down like Amy's doing right now. And when she scrolls all the way down, there's the application. Okay. So I tell you, I just have had this conversation with so many folks. I've even talked to Submittable about it. I don't know how else to do it. I almost feel like the guidelines don't need to be there once you click on that, but that's how it's set up. So you'll go in here, you put your first name, your last name. Then you need to put your legal name or business name. So that means if you have maybe you use an artist name and that's what you're going to want, for publicity purposes, put that in your first and last name. That's fine. Whatever you want to put there. But your legal name is what we're going to contract with you under. So if you have a business, if you have an LLC or S Corp or corporation or whatever you might have, and that's what you're going to contract under, that's what you would want to put there. So we just have that information. Or if you're just going to contract under yourself, your name, your legal name, that's what you pay taxes under, just put that. But we do need that legal name. It'll save you a lot of headache on down the road. Address, we do need your address. There's no address requirement here. Anybody can apply, but we do need your address. So we have that. Amy, could you scroll down? Great. Preferred phone, really do want you to give us a phone number that is the best one to reach you. And email address. I know you applied on Submittable, and all the emails are going to go through whatever email you used on Submittable, but ultimately this is the email address we'll also have on file. Okay, great. Keep going down. How do you wish to be categorized? You can check all of these, however you want to do it. Just helps us sort and see where people are, how you categorize yourself. No wrong answer there. Artist statement, PDF, only PDF format. So PDF is free to turn any document into a PDF. If you work on Google Docs, you can turn it into a PDF. Put that document in there hopefully, again, the artist statement is supposed to be something that you already have. We try to streamline these so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you apply to something. This is something you have. This is about your work. Just go ahead and put that artist statement in there. It doesn't need to be specific to this project. That'll come later. Resume, again, something you really should probably already have. We asked you to limit it to 2 pages. Otherwise, it's really a curriculum vitae. It's a much longer document. This is just a 2-page maximum resume. Again, just pop that in there as a PDF. Go down. Website. You don't have to put a website or social media, but if you have it, over the years, I found that panelists were kind of looking at somebody's website anyway, once they, like, if they're really interested in somebody's work. So I just put it out in the open and we just go ahead and allow them. Of course, you are applying with the work that you apply with. That's really what the panel's scoring you on. But when we get down to the final ones, sometimes they might want to look at a website and see a little bit more about a project. So if you have a website and you want to put that down, it only helps you. But it's not required by any means. Also, categories that you place your work in doesn't matter, but it helps. You do need to check something, but it also helps us to understand how you kind of categorize yourself. So put something in there. You can check more than one box. You can only apply as a design artist or teaching artist. Okay, so you are going to have to make a decision on that. And all I can say is just think about what you would really rather do. Again, I think both artists, the design artist is going to kind of do a little teaching and the teaching artist is going to be helping with the design process, but you have kind of different, you have different things that are going to be, you're going to really ultimately be responsible for. And think about, your experience, think about what your application shows in terms of what the strongest application is as to which one you would apply for. And again, the 6,000, that's your cash. That's what you get to do this project. We're covering all the materials. We're trying to simplify that. We do see this as an opportunity to give some artists some opportunity to kind of get in there and get a sense of how these projects get done. And you would also be doing, one of the first creative crosswalks in Sacramento since the policy was instituted. So it's kind of a big deal. Samples of your work. I would think most of you are going to just submit images. If you do have video files or something, I just recommend keep it short. If the panel is looking at your work, they are not going to look over more than 30 seconds of a video. I know people love to put in like 5-minute long videos, but I just tell you that they might not see it all. And so you're better off really having a short video. Sometimes video is good to show work so you can see if it's like installed. I totally get it. That's why we give that option, but keep it as short as you possibly can. That's ultimately up to you. Description list. This is really important. Oh, and 10 files. I'll tell you this, it's recorded. I recommend we allow you to show up to 10. I would show 10. If you don't have 10, then you can only show what you have. And please limit one file to one project. So don't show me a mural here and then 3 easel paintings all on the same thing. I mean, keep it one. You might have a mural and a detail and maybe a little shot of like a community paint day. If you did something, that's fine. You could put them all on one board. You don't have to, but you could. But don't do different projects on the same. It's too confusing and you're doing yourself a disservice. The panelists really get confused because remember, they're seeing a lot of work. All right, so that's the samples of your work. Take some time with your samples too, guys. That's actually part of the rubric is how well does your sample convey the work. So, so you get some points just for having like your work well portrayed so that they can see it. Take some time, shoot some good pictures. Support description list. This is really important. If you assisted on a project, make it clear that you assisted on a project. If it's unclear and you were a lead, let us know. Lead artist. Don't assume like that we'll know if it seems like it was a collaborative project. But most importantly, if you assisted on something, let us know. I don't think you should have just all assisted work, but if you're trying to think about what you should show and you feel like those are good examples, please, by all means, you can do that. And that description list is a little open. So you can, you could have some other things in there about the project if you want. But most importantly, name, medium, location, if applicable, date, that type of thing. And those relate to the files that you uploaded. And then references, I think we just discussed that. I think I do ask for address, but yeah, if you left out the address, that's not going to disqualify you. So I do like to kind of know where somebody is physically, but if you don't have it for some reason, it's not a huge deal. Name, email, and phone number will work as well. Let's keep going down. So this is really important. So location statement. This becomes really important, especially if you're in the final group and panelists have to make a really tough decision on, like, you or somebody else. Then they're going to really get in. They'll look at this stuff at a time, but they're really going to get into this then. So don't just phone this in. Take a little bit of time. It's not long. It's 150 words, but think about, why is this important to you? Why would it be important to you to work in this particular location? Do you have some relationship to the location? If you don't, that's fine too. Maybe the location reminds you of your own neighborhood. That would be fine. I mean, say something about the location. Look at it, check it out a little bit. We gave you plenty of information about it, so you can take a quick look. Statement of interest. This is where you say, like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to be a design artist? Why do you want to be a teaching artist? Why do you think this is kind of an interesting project to apply for? I realize folks need money to be able to do art. We get that for sure. But also, why do you want to do this? And that's your opportunity to really let the panel know why it's important to you. Don't wring your hands over it too much. Don't lose sleep over it. And by all means, don't, forget to submit because you've been working on your statement of interest for so long. But take a little bit of time, put that in there, and I hope you enjoy that process. The demographic information, completely optional. It does help us out a lot because we really do care about what groups we're, working with, who's seeing this, who's applying. It really helps us as an organization understand where we're doing well, where we're failing, how we can improve, how we can reach larger audiences. We believe that, diversity of audiences is an awesome thing. And so this also is part of the work that we do in equity, to really make sure that we give folks some extra help, and that we also provide extra information to make sure that people can kind of understand the process, because it's not totally intuitive. And along those lines, you can, after you apply, let's say you didn't get it, you're able to request your scores. You'll get a notification in Submittable, and it'll say, if you're interested, contact us at this location, at this email, and you can request your scores. You can also request a 30-minute consultation with us, and we'll share with you any thoughts and comments that might have come out from the panel. If that's of interest to you, it's by no means you have to do that. But again, we try to do that as an educational opportunity. I never had that too much, I have to admit, over like 20 years that I was applying for these types of things. So I always felt like, when I'm in this position, I want to give folks an opportunity to be able to ask questions. So feel free to take us up on that. All right, so that's it. Why don't you go ahead and just take us off the screen share? We're at 6:15, so we've got plenty of time for questions. We can also wrap up early. And I probably can say a couple more things about Northgate and just this project in general, because Amy and I spent a lot of time talking about this stuff and reading about it. So any questions on the application, really at this point, on anything that we've discussed tonight regarding D3 Creative Crosswalks? Kelly.
Okay, thank you. As far as the teaching artist goes in the classroom, are we supposed to be teaching the students about the crosswalk painting procedure? Are they going to, you said contractors will be actually painting the crosswalks, but the kids' involvement is obviously a key part of this. So can you explain that just a little bit more, like how involved with the painting of the sidewalks are the kids?
That's a great question. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to clarify that. So the idea of you being in the classroom is really to generate ideas for you. Let's say you were the teaching artist and the design artist who are working together, and ultimately the design artist is required to come up with the final design. The kids are kind of that conduit, and they just are benefiting from this creative process. So here's how I might envision it. You might come in, you say, all right, you guys, we're going to be working on this creative crosswalk project. Today, we're going to do a block printing project. right? And we're going to explore, let's say, symbols, or we're going to explore shapes through creating these styrofoam block prints. And then we're going to each have a piece of paper and we'll kind of do a design and we'll put them up and we'll take a look and see what happens. Or we'll put them all together and we'll create a mural of our block prints. So that's it. I mean, it's that experience, it's that lived experience that they have, that then now they create a piece of work. And now you're going to hold on to all that work until the end. We'll give it back out. But the artist gets to look at that and be influenced and inspired by that. I don't necessarily mean you need to scan their drawings in and include that as your design, although you could. But many artists have. But it might just be like, maybe these kids are starting to use color in a way that gives you an idea and you go, wow, that's really fascinating. Because we don't have any clue what you're going to do. We've left it pretty open, and the kids are not going to paint the crosswalk. So that I want to be clear on that. A contractor is painting the crosswalk. We are going to use really kind of not kid-friendly, not even artist-friendly materials for this. And so because we want this, it has to withstand cars and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to use, either a paint that is heat applied, or, this paint, it's called MMA. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but if you get selected, we'll lay out for you all the different options, and then we'll work with you. We've set budget aside to basically go through any of those options. We'll work with you on how could we accomplish that, and that'll be part of your kind of creative time. Personally, like, I've always thought this is a great opportunity to explore stenciling, because stencils are a way that you could do this. Stencils could be taught in the classroom. Stencils are essentially silkscreen printing is stencils. So there's a lot that could be done there, but that'll be part of what the design artists and the teaching artists come up with in consultation with us and the teacher. And then we'll see. And then we'll have this community day event as well. And that's where we might have some painting on the ground and stuff like that, but that'll be temporary and it'll be a lot, it won't be something on the crosswalk. So I hope that's responsive to your question. It's a great question. And I understand how you're like, sure, I totally get that, because you wouldn't necessarily know. And I know that you might see stuff on the internet where you see people painting on the ground. But what we have found through a lot of research is a lot of those crosswalks that were done in other cities, they go away like within a couple weeks. They're already kind of not looking very good. The drone shot looked great the minute it was done, and then it gets a little difficult to see. So we're trying to do something. So I think, Amber, I see you, you've had your hand up for a little while. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, are there any guidelines for like the limitations on like what kind of design can be done in the crosswalk? Because in other applying to other public art things, I have received the comment before, like, we can't see your work in this like media, like specific medium, so to make sure you're like presenting like work that's not too detailed or work that's like fits what will work in the crosswalk.
Yeah, and that does occasionally come up for certain projects. I think I can kind of safely say that that would not be the case here. I will instruct the panel. I don't vote on the panel, but I facilitate the panel. I will instruct the panel specifically here. And I often, if the panel goes in that direction, I'm like, that's not the conversation we should have. I don't really love that conversation because I tend to tell people, you don't know exactly what an artist is capable of. Is the work, does the work rise to a level of professionalism and originality and skill and everything like that? And then, that artist can probably figure it out. That's why they're applying. So we do, but sometimes you're right. Sometimes the panelists are, and the panel does go in that direction. And that's just the nature of some different panels. But this one in particular, I think we're going to be open to a lot of styles and a lot of process. And I am going to instruct them that we are fairly open. Now, I will say the creative crosswalk itself may limit you. And will limit you in terms of what you can do. So don't expect you're going to be able to do kind of Sistine Chapel style figurative work. Well, but there is a chance if we do thermoplastics, I do have enough funding to potentially do thermoplastics, which actually printed, and then you could have a bunch of detail, which is kind of interesting. But then we're going to blow a bunch of money just on that, and we'll definitely only do 2 crosswalks. But that's an option too. So, again, Amber, it's a great question. But by far, this project is going to be really open to all different styles and interpretations. And we also don't want to prescribe what this is going to look like. We haven't even really settled on the theme yet. Amy and I have some thoughts, and we did talk with the schools, but we're open and we want the artist at the table.
Donald, aren't there though certain guidelines for what kind of patterns and work can go on a crosswalk from traffic
in Sacramento?
In Sacramento,
and
right?
so what I would encourage you to do is download the information packet from that folder, right? It's in the RFQ. Download the whole thing, download all the stuff. And one of them is the PDF from Public Works.
Right.
And they will lay out, and they are, and y'all, we are working with them directly to try to massage this a little bit, because it has been tough to find ways to work within these guidelines, but we think we can do it, and we're excited about it. And the people at Public Works love this, and they really want to be a part of it. So I think we're all in the same space, but there will be some limitations just by the nature of the materials and everything. Amy's right. The thermoplastics may be another option, but we'll see how that all works out. But you as an artist should submit the work that you think best describes kind of your creative voice. That's what I would say. All right, Tabitha, thank you for your patience. I know you've had your hand up for a little while. Your question.
So just to clarify, we're not going to actually, the design artist isn't going to actually do any painting, but they're going to submit, when they work out the theme with the students and the teachers, the final design that's going to then either be transferred or painted by the contractors on there. So like a final design.
That is exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
The teaching artists, so you're assisting them, like they're actually going to teach a class or one class or multiple classes of art with the teacher there. And so then the design artist would assist with that.
Would assist. I would think the design artist might not be there at every class. Every time the teaching artist goes in, you guys will come up with some kind of schedule, but it would be nice. And I think the design artist will ultimately be inspired by that process. And I mean, I'll just be upfront with you. Like I've been through it. So it is inspiring to see, 34th graders creating these projects, and then you can literally put them up on the wall. And let me tell you, if you haven't had that experience as a design artist, I don't know you guys personally, but some of you I do, but it is quite inspiring. And so I think that process is going to be worth your time. Let's say if you were applying as the design artist, it would be worth your time to be in that classroom and just kind of get a sense of that. It's a $6,000 total artist fee. So we're not anticipating you're in there the entire year long, right? We're going to work out a schedule together that we kind of all equally agree upon and that feels right for the project.
My last question is it sounded like, based on the information, that there's actually going to be a student show that the artist, the design and the teaching artist will hang together of all the artwork that the students make during the
That's right. And we'll be assisting with that as well. Staff will assist with that. But yes, we will have some kind of show, whether it's at the school or at a local community center, or we're not sure. There's some options. And again, we are kind of keeping this open because, again, I just think that if we don't have those people that are actually doing the work at the table, that we do them a disservice by just kind of trying to prescribe it ahead of time. But we have a lot of good options in place. And yes, we would have one show and then invite, and that's where the students would get to show work. And it might be work that directly relates to the design that's in the crosswalk, or it might just be kind of, some things that they made. They'll basically be we would envision them making different stuff with the artists, And then they'll choose essentially the best piece or what they think the best piece is out of the different stuff they made. So you might have one kid that did a really cool block print and another kid that did a really great screen print and then another kid that made a cool stencil, and they would all choose those separate pieces to go into the show. Yeah. Or maybe the artist decides, hey guys, we're doing a big collaborative project. That's what we're doing in this show. And we're open to that too. You know, maybe the artist says, no, we're doing a mural and each of you guys are going to do a tile of watercolor paper and you're going to do this and it's going to all go together in this beautiful mural. You see, I'm just kind of making this stuff up, but you see where this goes.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Excellent questions. Thank you all. This is really great. Any other questions regarding the project or you know, the requirements? We do want this to be just a meaningful opportunity. You know, if you're an artist that just wants to just like straight up be in your studio, not really interact with people, this might not be the best project for you. But if you're open to like just kind of interacting and learning, and you don't have to have, if you're a design artist and you don't have teaching experience, that's okay. I think, you know, I mean, you want to show in your artist statement that you have a willingness to be part of that. And if you're a teaching artist that you've really done most of your work as a teaching artist, you really don't have as much of a personal practice, then share that work that your students have done, or maybe share some of your own practice in that. Allow the panel to understand that application. But this is an opportunity for those artists to kind of come together and maybe collaborate in an interesting way. And again, it's a small drop, right? It's a small drop both in the size of the project, but also in what it's doing, you know, for, you know, pedestrian safety along this area. But I believe that like small drop will eventually help fill the whole tub. All right. Well, thank you all. We are right on schedule, which I always try to do. Thank you, Amy, for that thumbs up. It's been my pleasure to share this with you today. If you just watched us, I hope the technical snafus early on didn't frustrate you too much and that you did stick with us to the end. Especially thank those folks that did come up with some really great questions. I think they've been actually super helpful, and I'm glad that we'll be able to have that. This will be in our information packet and on our YouTube page. Again, my name's Donald Gensler, joined by Amy Tuckelhelman-Chapman, and with the Office of Arts and Culture. And we do hope that you apply for this Creative Crosswalks project in District 3. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.